Let's go. Game time. The standard is the standard. That's our motto. That's our creed.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Better Baby Daddy podcast. I am one of your co hosts, John Latchman.
And I am your other co-host, Kelly Burgess.
And today we are sitting down with the positive and powerful Ja. Ja, can you tell us why you are here on the Better Baby Daddy podcast?
I think I'm here because, for one, I get the opportunity to hear the story of you two gentlemen. We've had conversations, one on one. I've had conversations one on one with both you guys, and the amount of respect that I have for you, for the pieces of your journey that I know. I love sitting amongst people, that I can learn from, that I respect, just to hear what their perspective is, so I can add it, to my thing, just to help me do what I'm doing better.
Mm, that's a good response there. And let me tell you, Burgess and I have some stories and some journeys that you never want to live or want to travel down.
Yeah. Amen, man. We respect your journey, bro. How you
Yeah.
how clean your journey is right now. So we wish you could wind the clock back,
The
15
crazy
years.
part is, the crazy part is, like, that's what most people think, right? It appears like it's cleaner than what the actual full story is. So we
Yeah.
can have this conversation today, right? And you're gonna hear a different version of the story that you've heard before.
All
Beautiful.
right. Well, hey, let's jump into it. Tell us as much as you're comfortable telling us the dirty version.
So, as on paper, I am a married man, father of one.
Yes.
In actuality, I'm a married man, father of two, right? Because in my relationship prior to the one I'm in now, I was a stepfather, right? And
Oh.
I raised that young man from the time he was 4 up until this point now. He's 18, going off to college this next semester. So for me, on paper, he's not, you know what I mean, identifiable as my child. But for me, he is, right? We shared a lot of time together. That pivotal moment, those years to kind of help you mold a young man, a lot of those moments, were spent with me. So I take credit for that.
Mm.
We've been able to maintain a relationship now, because his mother and I split when he was about, I want to say he was about 12 or so. So from that point on, we had our own relationship, right? We were able to develop our own relationship outside of his mother, and kudos to her for allowing that to happen. But we made it to this point where the
Yeah.
relationship is still strong with him. Um, he confides in me. We still have a great bond.
Man,
All
that's
right.
fabulous, man. That's rare.
Yeah, very
Yes.
rare.
Where
Ex
you
Extremely
can
rare.
maintain a relationship with a child, particularly at that tender age, like 13, and then sustain that, it's 12, sustain that for 6 years. And then I appreciate the shout out to the mom, like, because it takes a mature woman to say, "Oh, it's over between me and the gentleman," but I see the benefit of him maintaining this relationship with my son.
Yeah, for sure. It
So,
wasn't it didn't start off like that. It was a little rocky. We had to get to that point, but once we got there, it's been smooth sailing ever since. So
wow,
I have no
kudos to
complaints.
you, man. Kudos.
Thank you so much.
For sure. Ja, I got a question that's just based off what you just said there. And that is stepping into that role. What was that like?
Um, I was 23, I think.
Wow.
23,
Yeah.
maybe 23, 24 at that point. All my friends, of course, were looking at me like, "What? What you doing? Like, what you doing? Like, we outside, we doing this, we doing that, and this is the decision that you made." So they were looking at me kind of funny, but like once we, established the consistency, once they saw that I was serious about it, everybody just kind of like understood, right? They just kind of adjusted around us, and they supported us the best way that they could throughout our time together. So it was tricky, right? Like, but I never felt like I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing, or I was overextending, or I was doing too much, or I shouldn't be here. I never felt that feeling. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of guys who were in that situation who do feel like that. Like, man, like I thought I was signing up for the girl or for the
Mm.
woman, and then there's a kid here, and I gotta fake like I'm into the kid too, and like I don't know how to like navigate this thing, and that's tricky for a lot of guys. And I don't know what I was thinking at 23, You know what I mean? Jumping in head first the way I did, because I like head first, like I wasn't really playing around with it. And I don't know if I would tell a 23-year-old to do the same thing that I did. But I learned so much from that experience, and not to just minimize it as just like an experience because that was my life, right? Like, but I learned so much from it at that point that it altered who I am. Like, you know what I mean? It made me a different version of myself forever, and there's gonna always, always lean on that experience, and it kind of helps foster who I am today.
Yeah. Yeah, I got two questions, follow-up questions related to that because you touched on something that's kind of been a theme of a couple of guests that we've had in terms of like the weight of taking on a lady and her son. That is a package deal. Like, um, so at 23, most dudes don't understand that. So, you showed a certain level of maturity just saying, hey, I'm going to it for head first. One thing Elle and I talk about is having a tribe around you that can you can bounce things off of or, get some counsel. So when there's anybody in your friend group, you had mentioned before that they were like, what are you doing? But was anybody like a parent or anybody kind of stepping into a role as a father? Like, how did you navigate like the beginnings of that if nobody in your circle was even a parent or kind of in that role? And then I got to follow up after you answer that.
Um, I don't know. It was tricky because like I've always liked young people, right? Like I've always had connection with young people. So that's something that was kind of innate to me. And we were able to develop our own relationship outside of her, right? Like I had a relationship with her and I had a relationship with him. It wasn't like I was only dealing with him because of her, right? And even at times in the relationship, it got tricky because I was spending more time with him than with her, right? So like that also created like a little thing, right? And most people don't speak about it. Most people don't even notice it, but that's a thing that happens, right? Or it happened to me or with us. Um, but no, nobody was there kind of like directing me and like, telling me it felt like I was in a fish tank for the most of that time, right? Like
Mm,
were looking at me like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, why are you doing this? I've even had people question my motives at times, like, what are you in it for? Like,
Right.
until people see you consistently that you're serious, then they're like, wow, like I don't know, like even to this day, her father, right, her mother, I still have a relationship with them because they saw the how consistent I was, how serious I was with that. They still, even if I don't speak to her, I speak to almost everyone around her because of the amount of respect that they garner from me because of that situation, right?
mm,
When a woman in our building is one of her relatives, right? And we have a relationship because of that situation,
Wow.
right? So, like I can't really say any one person was kind of guiding me in that situation. I don't know what it was, but it was something I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing,
Wow.
right? Like I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Well, hey man, again, not a lot of brothers would have been able to rock that. Seriously. And so that leads to, and you alluded to it in your answer. So you had this great relationship with the young man. You had a good enough relationship with the young lady to maintain a relationship with the young man, and then something broke in y'all's relationship, and then you moved on. And so, what is it that you took? And now you're a new dad, right? So what is it that you took from um that season that said, okay, I've been a parent before. I've been in a serious relationship for. Now I'm in a lock-in relationship with a wife and we have a child. What is job 2.0 in this new situation?
Man, I feel like a beast, honestly. Like I feel like low key I have a cheat code, right? Like I feel like I have a little bit of a cheat code. Like granted, I wasn't there through this phase, right? This early in the process. So this is all brand new to me, right? But I feel like once we get to a certain point, it's kind of like gonna kick in for me. And it's kind of like I'm gonna be like, you know, in first gear. Because I had that experience, right? And because I was hands-on with that experience. I wasn't a bystander. I
Mhm.
was I was like hospital visits, like PTA meetings. I
Mm.
was that It
You
was
was in
that.
there. You was dad.
I was in there, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't feel like it's when we get to that point, there'll be like there'll be a level of comfort for me. I'll feel like, okay, I've been here before. I know what this could look like. So I don't have those kind of worries. You know what I mean? I was able to learn so much from that situation. And sometimes I don't think about it until I'm in it, right? I don't think about it until like a moment comes or, you know, I do something different than what I would have done years ago. And it's natural where it's like second nature. And I'm like, oh, and then I think about it, I take a step back and be like, wow, I would have never done this 10 years ago. Like I would have never thought to do it this way. But because I had that experience, it changed the way I move in a lot of different ways.
Wow. Yeah, it would look, kudos to you because there's no way at 23 that I could have took on that responsibility in a mature way. I wouldn't have known what I was doing. Um, and then I think probably the most complicated part for me would have been the dynamic that I would have been forced to create with the biological father.
Yes. We can get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that like for you?
So it started off a little rocky, right? Like it started off rocky because um, I appear a certain way, right? I come off a certain way. I'm very welcoming. I'm cool. So I think people sometimes they see that and they think that it's something that it's not. Right?
Mm,
So and then fathers, biological fathers, oftentimes, like I imagine most would, and I probably would be if I was in that situation. I would be. I would have a sense of urgency when another man comes into the life of my child, right?
mhm.
So like, what's this guy about? Who is he? He's going to be around, my kid. But for me, being new to the situation, not quite understanding all the dynamics and who and what, and having a certain level of arrogance in myself, it's almost like I haven't seen you since I've been around, bro. So you can't be that important. So I don't know what your thing is, like which all of a sudden now because you hear I'm around, now you have an urgency to who's with my son. You weren't worried about who was with your son this whole 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Now you see that, oh, this might be serious. Who is this guy? Like there was none of that in the beginning. I've been around. Like I'm not a new person here technically, right? But so the instance when we met was combative on his end. Once there was an understanding that I'm not the for one, I'm not here to hurt your kid. For two, I'm not the guy you just gonna do that with. So let's get an understanding on that. This could be easy or it cannot be. Right. And then you see, like, okay, this dude don't mean no harm. Then it's like eventually, I'm not trying to step on your toes. I'm not trying to be the new you. When you're around, you can lead the whatever is going on. I don't have an ego in that. I don't care that much. Once they understand, like, okay, if I do anything outside of if I handle this any way outside of the way I'm supposed to handle this, I'm gonna look like a fool, right? So once you accept that, where it's like this dude don't mean no harm, he providing a safe space for my kid, like he keeps me in the loop, he don't step on my toes when I'm around. What really do I have an issue with?
Mhm.
What really do I have? And then I eventually even garnered the respect of his mother, right? So it's like, who are you? Who is your issue with me or with yourself? Honestly,
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
that's it right there.
There it is.
Um, I know Burgess can speak to this as well. Maybe you will be, but going through that process, and I've went through it twice now, where I've had to interact with the significant other of one of my children's mothers.
Mhm.
That is a ego check moment and a humbling moment. And luckily, I've been around men that have helped guide me through that process, whether directly or indirectly. We had a guest on here a couple episodes ago, Daryl Turner, and we was talking about that. And he talked about the concept of a village.
I was about to say the same thing.
And man, that that opened my eyes so much. Like if this man that's going to be in my daughter's life is going to be positive, is going to help direct her, is going to just be that safe space as well, then I'm all for it.
Right.
Now on the flip side, I'll die for my children, and I mean that 100%,
Yeah.
right? So it's a balance between those 2 things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add, man. I mean, we talked about it a lot, but well, first of all, um, your factory setting job as a man is very different than a lot of dudes. Like, for you to
Yeah.
come to the table as a young cat and be able to, that's probably for dudes that are, dealing with a lady who has a kid or, had a relationship. They have their own children. They had a relationship but broke up, and then they're dealing with a new dude that's going to be around their kids. That's probably one of the most explosive, potentially explosive situations that a dude is going to be in. Because if that other cat is not level headed
Yeah.
and he doesn't let the situation breathe, or he can get easily antagonized by his lady. Um, it could be bad, but fortunately, you come with, just like I said, your factory setting in the situation is high level, and then he gave time and space to see you for who you were, and be like, oh, okay, the cat's good. But I mean, as Elle said, we both been in situations where we've been limited by relationships that our ex partners had, and in my situation, have been told, "Hey, no, dog, you're not getting the kids today because their mom said the kids said that they don't want to come. So sorry you made that drive." And you have to have a tribe around you that's able to talk you off the ledge emotionally, because it's not too many things that will get a man,
Yeah.
to that dark space. So, um, but it's a tough thing. It's one of the reasons why we started this podcast, because we know that's a difficult thing for fathers to navigate. Very hard. They hear stories like that and the other guests, and they can see it can be done. It's like, oh, okay, let me call somebody. Let me take a breath. Um, man, I love how you put it, man. You're like, look, you know, you see this on the outside, right? I'm not no, you said, I'm not here to hurt your child,
I'm
but
not,
I'm not that dude you want to keep trying this with, though.
It's that concept. Oh, go ahead. My bad,
I'm
Joe.
just saying, it's just like I'm just being honest. Like I just want it to be all laid out on the table, right? Like I'm just not, I'm not into that. Like the back and forth for nothing. Like let's dead all of that unless it's going to be a real issue. Like if not an actual issue and you just manufacturing nonsense, like I'm not here for that. I have better things to do with my time than this. Like what is
Mhm.
this even about? Like you know what I mean? So that's my attitude with most things. It's like, is this a problem or is it actually not a problem?
Mm.
Mm,
Well, I want to talk about a couple steps forward. And you've met this new woman, you start dating, y'all get engaged, eventually you're married, you have a child,
Mhm.
but you still have this young man that's in your life.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a little bit of blending that goes on there. And we had a previous guest talk about porcupines. Yes, I know, but let me get to this. He said, so during the winter, porcupines, they cuddle together. And when they cuddle together, they needle each other.
Okay.
But that needling, that pain is necessary to keep warm in the winter.
Mm.
So that's what blending a family is like. Like there's going to be some poking,
Mm.
there's going to be some uncomfortability, but at the end of the day, everybody's better for it. So
Yeah.
what was that blending process like for you?
So for me, it's like I wouldn't even necessarily know if I would call it a blending, right? Because granted, he's around, right? He's around,
Mhm.
but he's 18, right?
Mhm.
He's 18, 17, 16 throughout this process. So for him, he's trying to figure out what's going on in his world, right? So like
Mhm.
as any 16-year-old, you're kind of selfish with your own experiences. Just like, I see what you're going on. I love that for you, but like I like this girl and I don't know what to do with this situation. So like I can't even really deal with what you got going on. And I love that for you, right? Like he sees the baby before, like, all of that, the whole thing. So but for him, he's experiencing so many first in his world. That's all he really can think about right now, right? So like I would call it a bit less. It's less of a blending. Like
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like if it was a situation where he had uh like a room here and he would be here regularly or something like that, I think then that would cause for more blending. But the dynamic that we have doesn't really necessarily his our time is usually one on one, right? Like our time is it's all one on one for the most part. Occasionally there'll be a mixture of families and all that, but For the most part, it's usually just me and him. Him trying to navigate his world, trying to become the man that he doesn't even know exists yet. Like he's trying to. My thing is, our thing is now trying to help him figure out what that world looks like for him. So it's less about me, and it's more so about what are you doing here, kind of thing.
Yeah. Quick question about how you, because you obviously have a very close relationship with him, right? I know in like kind of traditional blended families, like I'm trying to imagine a situation with like, my first wife who I had 5 kids with, when something pops off with the kids, she'll call me or text me and say, "Hey, something acute is happening." So, I'm kind of kept in a loop with that, and then there's 2020 vision on the kid. Uh, is it just an understanding that, hey, you have the relationship with him, but it's not like you're checking in with his mom and saying, "Hey, well, you realize that this was going on. I was wondering, what was going on there." How does that
We've
dynamic?
had, we've had those kind of conversations before where she'll reach out to me and be like, "Hey, I don't know what this is.
Hmm.
Have y'all had a conversation about this? Is this something that you're familiar with? Do you know anything about this? Or hey, what do you think about this? Or like, can you make some suggestions?" So we've had those conversations for sure. Um, but usually, if there's an issue with him, he's not going to be forthright in coming out. You kind of got to like squeeze it out of him, right? You kind of got to squeeze it out of him. So sometimes I might get to something before his mother gets to it, right? And then I'll put it on her table, like, hey, like, yeah, you probably ain't heard this one, but let me go ahead and and put this on your table to be keep your eyes open for since you're the 24/7.
And he understands that flow of communication is happening between y'all. There's
Yeah,
no issues with that with him, or I mean, I'm sure he doesn't like it all the time because, you know, but he's aware that's the vibe.
well, yeah, 100%. He's aware
Yeah, yeah.
for sure.
Does that
It's
does that cause any friction? Did you have to explain that or clarify the boundaries with your wife?
Yeah,
yes.
for sure. Like in the beginning, like when we first met, um, that was a conversation like early on. She's one of those people
Mhm.
that can pull information out of you. So the first time we met, she knew my whole life story, and I was just like, I don't even know this lady. Like, how does she know? Like, how did I just? And I'm not the kind of person to just be have like word salad, just be vomiting all my information to people, right? Like even people that I'm close with or people that I've known forever, there's still aspects of things they don't know about, right? So for her to pull that out of me, I was kind of like, damn,
Mm.
she's good. She's good. Like you're volunteering for me, and then you're like, damn, when did I tell you that? Like what? She knew about him already. Like before we
Mhm.
even started dating, she knew he existed, right? She knew the dynamic of that whole relationship, and all of that. So that wasn't anything new to her. But when we got into a relationship and she kind of got a better understanding of what that dynamic actually looked like, right? Like you can hear
Mhm.
about it all day, but once it starts
Mhm.
to be like a part of your life, because now you're involved, now you're like, oh, okay, this is what you were talking about. I'm trying to like, how do we navigate this? What does it mean for me? Who am I to like? It's kind of like that whole thing. Do I have to meet her? Like, all of that. And then that happened, right? Like, it was a moment. It was, early on. I was trying to do the me and him thing 1-on-1, and then eventually she's like, "But we're in a thing, so like, if I
Mm.
don't have a problem with you being around him, no, no problem. But if I'm gonna be here and he's gonna be here, there has to be some kind of a cross. So he would have birthday parties and I would go by myself, right? And then one year she was like, "I gotta come," and I said,
Mm.
"Whew, I never anticipated this crossroads." Like,
Right.
would be interested. You know what I'm saying?
She said, when I said we, I meant we.
Right. I was like,
We.
"Oh, okay, let's see how this goes." So, we did it. He had a birthday dinner or whatever. All his family, I knew all his family was going to be there. They got a large family. They all do stuff together. So I told, my ex, I'm gonna bring her. She wants to meet y'all. Blah blah blah. She was like, "Cool, no problem. Bring her along." So I did, um, and it went well. Right, like it went remarkably well. The only thing I didn't like is that they sat directly across from each other at the table, and it was just like, "Is this we were late?" So I was like, "Is this the only seat? Like, it's got to be this one." But it was cool, Like, I mean, it was cool. Everybody laughed, and we had a good time. It wasn't no weird energy. So it went as good as it could have possibly gone. You know, they both have bubbly personality. They're both energetic people, friendly people for the most part. So, you know, that was good. But you know, when you haven't been around people in a long time, you don't know what their energy is gonna be like. So it's always a wild card, like, I don't believe you would do something crazy in this setting. Well, like, I've never seen you in this setting also. Oh, like,
Exactly.
I have no idea. So I was just, I know I wasn't doing anything backdoor. I wasn't being sneaky with so I didn't have that to be worried about, but you still like I'm juggling a lot right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it worked
Yeah,
out.
I'm just thinking of the uniqueness of that situation, and I would anticipate that the dynamic between your wife, um, your ex, and the child, and then your newborn, who doesn't play a big role in that relationship just yet because of the age, is constantly evolving. Those conversations are constantly taking place to reassure boundaries or to have a better understanding of boundaries. Um, what is that like? That update process of those boundaries?
Um Now that's something that's like a consistent work in progress. Like I said, that's always something that's kind of um like growing, right? It's always growing. It's a moving organism. Um because my relation with mind you, we were married, right? Uh,
Oh, okay.
albeit
Okay.
albeit a short window, but it did happen, right? So with that being said, I do feel like I didn't make that decision under duress. Nobody put a gun to my head. That was a decision that we made. Um, so I do feel like anybody that I make that connection, that commitment with, I do owe you a level of respect. You know what I mean? As long as we're existing on this earth together, unless you violate and do something absolutely insane, I owe you that level of respect, right? We made that decision to make a commitment together, whether there were seeds, from it or not. I still owe you that level of respect. As a man, I just feel like that's what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm supposed to be respectful in that and to somebody who I made that kind of commitment with, regardless what my new situation is, right? Will I be inappropriate? No. But I can be respectful to multiple parties at once. Um, but with that being said, like the reason I say it's a moving organism because our dynamic isn't always consistent, right? So we
Mhm.
may speak twice a week and then not speak for 6 months.
Mm,
That makes sense? And then we
mhm.
might see each other in person and then not like see each other for a year and a half. I might pop up at her dad's house. She might be there. Like, what the hell you doing here? It's like that kind of thing. So it's like I do have to be overly communicative about that with my wife, right?
Mhm.
Because that's tricky to understand, right?
Yeah.
With somebody on the outside of that, it's like, what? I thought y'all weren't cool, but now y'all
Mm.
cool? Like, what's going on? What's the like? It's that kind of thing, right? And we had conversations about it. Uh, way early on in the relationship. It's like, what is y'all dynamic? Like, and that's I don't know. I just know that I don't have a problem with anybody, and we just move like that, right? Like that's what I can tell you. So we kind of just figure it out, right? Luckily, she's a very reasonable person, right? She's a
Mm.
reasonable person. She's not overly emotional. She's a woman, of course, but not like super led by her emotions where things that make sense won't make sense anymore.
You talking
Okay.
about your wife or your ex?
My wife.
Your wife. Gotcha.
So it's easier to navigate that situation because A, she trusts me. Um, and B, I don't put myself in situations that would look crazy from the outside looking in. I try my best not to do that.
Thank you, man. We're gonna cut that snippet up right there and probably pin it because that's baseline table stakes for dudes who trying to be better dads. Like
Mm.
protect the trust and just don't do stupid stuff. Like,
That's
and
it.
then
Communicate.
the
Communicate.
third is what you said at the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm overly communicative,
Yeah.
and one thing that Elle and I have discovered is that when you have these blended situations, there's so much surface area for misunderstanding.
For
Just
sure.
on a good day. And there's probably never a day when all the planets align and everybody's kumbaya. It's always something that could
It's always,
potentially pop
always,
off. And
always.
you got to be super communicative. Yeah, man. Dude, I mean, hats off to you, bro.
Thank you, bro. So, you know, to piggyback on something y'all said earlier, I was talking about like the idea of the village, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
My family is of West African descent, right? So like the village for me is what I've known my whole life, right? Like when I was born in London, right? My parents had me in London, my older brother, and then they left and came to the US for 4 or 5 years, right? 3, I don't know I can't remember the math, like 4 or 5 years, right? In that time, I was living with my aunt who raised me while I was there, right? From the
In London?
in London, from the time I was like 5, I mean, time I was like 2 up until I was like 6 or whatever that time is, right? So
Mm.
in my brain, this lady is my mother,
Mm.
right? Like my mom left when I was a year and a half, 2. So there that relationship was kind of severed because I was too young to even understand what was going on around me. So my first recollection of a mother figure was my aunt, right? So like my dad would come back and forth somewhat recently, I mean frequently, right? But I don't recall my mother making that trip as often.
Mm.
So when it was time for me to go back, you know, to reconnect with my parents, I had to reestablish that relationship with my mother, right? But in that time that she was away, there was several people that had um, you know, dominion over what myself and my brother were doing, right? There wasn't just one person that I had to be respectful to or to be that I had to, you know, that I had to follow, right? There was multiple people who had input in my upbringing. And those people weren't my parents. So the idea of other people having an input is not foreign to me at all,
Mm.
right? I had several people having input in my upbringing, especially in those earlier years. Even to the time that I was, you know, a teenager, there was still people in my world who, when my mother wasn't around, I was still expected to be respectful and obey. That was the expectation. The expectation wasn't like, you know, when your mom's not around, you can do what you want. It's like, no, there's still 16 other people I still have to be beholden to, right? So like that kind of holds you accountable. And something I realized like when I was almost in college, my mother always made us live in neighborhoods where family was around.
Mm.
Always. Like I never lived in a neighborhood where there wasn't relatives close. So there was always eyes on me everywhere I was.
Hey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it reminds me of like the way that people talk about like how the neighborhood used to be where anyone in the neighborhood could, you know what I mean, could address you. That's what it made me feel like, because that's what it was. Like I could do something, my aunt would see me, I would have to deal with her, and then I would have to go home and deal with my mother and father. So it's kind of like, bro, God, I can't get away with nothing around here. So like that kind of holds you accountable. Now, did I still do stupid stuff? Of course. Kids are gonna figure out a way to be idiots, bro. And I did it, right? So like, but I also understood like how important in that village today, even when I had my child, right? Like that's a thing that luckily that my wife understands the same concept, that's something that we implement and we will continue to implement, you know, in the upbringing of our children. Like I'm not the only person here that can address you. Like so when I
Mm.
go to we work with students.
Yeah.
So I work with kids and I sit down and they tell me like the only person I got to listen to is my mother. I just be like, wow, holy moly, like what? Like if
Right.
my teacher was to call my mother and say and tell her whatever, first of all, it's no, did you do this? Right? My
Right.
teacher's word is law. I don't care if I got video evidence. He's gonna tell me I doctored that, right? Like whatever the teacher said happened, that's what happened.
Right.
And I have to hold you accountable. So now you got to deal with me and you got to go deal with whatever consequence that the teacher and the school has for you. Well, now it's like, is it even worth it, bro? Like,
Hey, man, What you just touched on there is that sense of community that I really think is missing from our society today.
Big time.
Where I grew up, where I spent my formative years, probably from, let me think, 3rd grade to 8th grade, that really formative time was in the projects. And people like, what? You grew up in the projects? It wasn't like the crazy projects, but I mean, stuff happened. But I had Mr. Carter across the street. I had Miss Debbie down the street. I had Miss Sharon down the street. I had Nick's mom right here. If I did anything stupid, if I swore too loud on the street, my mom would know before I got back to the door. That sense of community just seems to be missing in our current societal state.
Yeah, it was different back then. You know, I'm slightly older than y'all, but I live in the house where I grew up,
Mm.
and my 2 neighbors are the neighbors that I grew up around. So they're in their 80s. Yeah,
Wow.
they're in their 80s. I was a little boy when they were raising, their children who are my contemporaries, and that, I remember wilding one day. My parents went out. They went on a cruise in Jamaica when I was a junior in high school, and I
Mm.
had a party at the house, and it was popping.
Of course.
My parents got home and said, "Tell me what happened." They already knew because Miss Houston next door, she, she said Loretta probably called and spent $50 to call on the cruise and tell her what happened. But but it was guardrails for us. Like you said, we still gonna find ways to be idiots, but it was guardrails. And
Yeah.
it is missing, and I believe because the nuclear family has been imploded, right? And so you just don't have as many eyes on the situation. You don't have as many people with energy to put eyes on the situation. So, but man, that's such a that village concept is really important. And I think particularly when we're speaking to the artists we speak to, you got to remind, man, you got a village. You got other dudes that have navigated these spaces and corners that you're on the front end of that can just sit with you and say, hey, it's going to be all right. There's some best practices and then there's some not so good practices. It's your choice. We're going to rock with you either way, but we got some reps. We've seen this before.
Mm.
So saddle up, but
Thing
Saddle up.
the thing that kinda scares me, and, it's connected, but it's kinda the thing that kinda scares me, right, when I look at my family, foreigners, right? But I see how quickly it goes from how connected we were when I was a kid, how my parents and my uncles, they made sure that there was no difference in treatment, right? Like, if I go to my uncle's house, I'm his child while I'm at my uncle's house.
mm,
Right?
Mhm.
Like, there was no difference. Like, there was no I'm gonna eat what everybody else is eating. I'm gonna sleep how everybody else sleeps. There's no complaining. We're all like, it was 10 of us, 12 of us at my uncle's house, right? Like, we just traveled in packs and bunches, right? They made sure that we were together doing whatever. They had family events all the time for unreasonable reasons, right? For no reason at all. They would make sure that they would find they would make sure they would find reasons for us to be around each other, right? Like, as a kid, you take that for granted. But now that I'm in a generation where me, my siblings, and my cousins are all having kids, and I'm seeing how separated everybody is, it kind of hurts me to the core, right? Because then you're in situations where, like, your kids are in school together and don't know each other,
mm,
right? Like, that one stings. I'm not gonna lie, because, like, that is not our culture, right? Like, that's not the culture that I come from. So to see my cousins, kind of some of them kind of just like fall and just let themselves like fall, like the chase for money, right? Like the chase for money and lifestyle has corrupted some of us so strongly and so thoroughly that, like, the thought of family and sacrificing to make sure everyone is comfortable, that has fallen to the wayside, right? Like,
Mm.
my mother my whole life has taken care of my grandparents,
mm,
right? Like, she is responsible fully for the well-being of my grandparents, right? My grandparents are Sierra Leone, um, but their whole life is funded by my mother and her brother, right? Even when they went on and had another generation of children, right? They're still looking to my mother and my uncle to fund whatever. And my mother and uncle have never faltered, right?
Mm,
So of course, that means that my brother and me, we have to take the L sometimes, right? And then when you're a kid, you're selfish. You're like, bro, like, you tell me I can only get one pair of shoes this time, like, yeah, your grandparents need this, and I'm just like, this is not fair, bro. Like, this is looking like 401k. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you're selfish. Like, but when you get older, you realize, like, damn, like everybody was sacrificing to make sure everybody was good. These
Mhm.
yeah.
days, people will they're not gonna do that,
No.
right? They're not gonna do that. You're just gonna have to figure it out. And that's wild to me. It
A question for
is
not both of y'all can answer this question. Like talking about the nuclear family, talking about the downfall of community within our society itself and in cultures within our society. The question is, do you believe that individuals are incentivized to break up or not be part of a nuclear family or to be separate from a community within our society?
yes. I 100% believe it's incentivized. Like I look at it from a business perspective, right? Like let's say I have a family of four. Um, I am um I'm a supporter of the idea of the multi-generational home, right? Where you can live in the house, mom can live in the house, kids can live in the house, and there's no pressure for everybody to run out of the house, right? We just all participate in the upkeep of the home as long as we potentially can. Makes it an easier lift for everybody, right? But what
Mhm.
happens is society pressures you to leave. You gotta go be independent. You get your money up and then you go boss up, you go do this, you go. So now instead of seven people living in the house, it's four because all the kids want to go get their own place that they probably can't afford, right? So now you're in a space where I can make money off all of y'all because now you need seven cars. You need four mortgages. You just need more to sustain your world because you have decided to venture out most times before you're ready to. Right. So now your credit is in trouble because you're making bad financial decisions. And that like it's just a snowball effect, right? And then now you're gonna be paying rent forever because you won't be able to afford to save any money. So like the thing is a snowball effect and it's propagated because they want they want it, it's a money grab, right? I'm going to promote independence, hyper independence. You don't need anybody but you. You can do it on your own, et cetera, et cetera. Be out by 18. You should have this. I don't think it works for most people, right? Like in other countries, you don't see that.
No, that's actually a fairly new concept and is an American concept of the single generation home.
Yeah,
Like that multi-generational home,
it's
when
the
you
norm.
go other places, whether it's India or Africa or other parts of the world, you see multi-generational homes.
It's the norm.
Yeah.
It's the norm. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, I look at, I agree. I think it puts tremendous pressure. The things I've told my boys is that if you're going to do that, put yourself in a position to um carry that family on one salary.
Hmm.
I think, and that's tough to do in this area.
Very tough.
Very
But
tough.
but what it does, if you plan it, if you have that mindset early, first of all, you got, your lifestyle's not gonna look like the Joneses. It's not gonna look like a couple that's using both incomes to fund their lifestyle. It's just not. But what it allows you is a measure of so much margin that when the kids come or when something happens or your in-laws getting older, you have money stocked away to maneuver through the storms of life.
Yeah.
And just that, I tell my boys all the time, if you get pregnant on your wedding night, but y'all are socking away half of her salary or 75% of her salary, but you know that you can handle it as the man, just imagine 9 months of her salary just stacked.
Hmm.
You in the top 1% of most people
Hmm.
in terms of saving.
Easily.
And that flexibility is unmatched. It is different for our society. I remember my mom, it's funny, it's one generation removed. She come from a family, rural Virginia, almost in North Carolina, 10 or 11 in a one or two, I think it was 2-bedroom house. I'm like, where did y'all live? Like, yeah, like wood stove in the middle of the kitchen. But it was 10 siblings. And all the boys ended up going to college. and she was one of the girls that went to college, and then none of them lived that way except for maybe one of her sisters. It was go get your degree, get your own house, da da da. You know, you on that grind. Um, but I don't know if our people are built for that. You know, I see some of my Latino brethren and they rocking it. And you know, you get down the neighborhood and they're going to McDonald's, they 3 generations deep, Costco, 3, 4 generations deep, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about, you know, American blacks where it's like, yo, it just might be a little bit too much,
Mhm.
too much porcupining,
Yeah. Too much pork.
too much prickling. Okay, I don't
Yeah.
know.
But one of the things that really occurs as well is the incentivization. And look, I'm gonna say some sensitive things here. Is the welfare state incentivizes it,
It
and
does.
child support also plays a role in that. And my mother had well, she didn't really get the child support, but she had the welfare that enabled us to eat. So there are necessities with it, but it also becomes a crutch where I can do this by myself. I don't need anyone with me. Oh, and then maybe my parents were saying, "Oh, just go get welfare so you don't got to worry about nothing and get that child support from your baby daddy. Then you really don't got to worry about nothing. You can stay home with the kids." Now what?
Yeah, well, it's a vacuum created, and it's not to put it all on men, but it's that's a man issue. Like if a man is stepping up,
Well, I'm gonna
well,
push back
I'll
on
say
that.
this. I'll say this. Well, no, go. I mean, to me, I mean, so at the crux of that is like, okay, if a dude says, you know what, I did this thing, I'm gonna go ahead and step in there and make it right. So, so that doesn't fall on the government, or that doesn't, you know, it doesn't have to go that way. But you know, I didn't live that. That wasn't my lived experience also. So I wasn't a woman who was like, yo, I don't really have any other options, or this option is so much simpler than dealing with this knucklehead dude.
Yeah, and I agree. There are men that make horrible decisions to put their families in horrible spots, but
Mhm.
there's also women that do the exact same thing, if
Sure.
we are to be fair.
Yeah.
And that I don't know, man. It's not a problem that gets solved really easily, that's for sure.
No,
Not a
but it is, it's work to have that kind of family that can support what John's saying.
Yes.
It's work and planning. And the key word you said was, it's sacrifice. And
Mhm.
I think in American culture, you know, you alluded to it, John, that money grab and just that quest for things is so palpable.
Yeah.
It makes it hard for you to say, no, I'm gonna delay this because, hey, the generation before me needs this right now.
Yep.
Mm.
Um, it's really hard to do because
I was talking to a guy, right? The guy was doing like it's a Hispanic gentleman. He bought a house like maybe like 3, 4 houses down from my mom's house. Um Townhouse. He had like it was like 3 families living there, 3 small families, right? Separate like whole separate families, like living in this townhouse, 3 floors. Everybody in the house, all the adults in the house worked. They all worked, they all contributed to all of the bills, right? If I want to tell you 5 years from then, from the time they had another house, right? They doing all the labor in the house, repairing, picked out, doesn't even look like the same house. New roof, new it doesn't even look like the same house, right? Then they had another house, right? So they were like the families that were coming into the like, let's say they buy a house, one of the families moves out into their house, then they bring another family into the house. They keep the mortgage is paid off in half the time. Now you got three homes that you own.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Then now you can use that money to funnel into whatever it else. So if your kids decide they do want to go they have money now to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're not leaning on a loan. They're not in super like in crazy debt. They can for school out of like it's the possibilities are endless when you decide that you're going to sacrifice for a little bit of time. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's not gonna always be fun.
no,
And you're
It's
not gonna have a lot of privacy, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be beautiful if you're willing to work.
yeah,
yeah,
that cash flow gonna be a beast. Like yo,
Man,
that cash flow statement gonna be a beast. But
like
it's a decision that generation that gets there and is the foundational generation. They grinders, man. And then the cultural capital you get, right? Just
yeah.
the cultural understanding of this is just what we do. This is how we roll. Um, yeah, it's powerful, man. But
let me do
I
some
know
math.
that's a challenge. It's a challenge for our people. I ain't gonna lie.
I got to
It's-
do the math. I got to do the
yeah.
math on this. Hold on.
Do the math on it.
I'm saying,
The mortgage is
Hey,
something around 1800, right? Divided
yeah.
by seven.
well,
That
while
means,
you do the math, I'm gonna call some of my boys to see if they want to move in.
Hey,
bro,
exactly. Get my 10 kids on the phone and be like, look, hey, we thought about this all wrong. We got the numbers in our favor.
bro,
That's a nice,
they
you
was
was ahead of the game, B.
Hey.
they paying $260 a month in mortgage, bro.
Mm,
For an adult. Imagine how much. What?
What?
It's 7 people contributing. That's $260 a month, bro. It's
mm,
nothing. Imagine how much
mm,
extra money you can do, whatever, bro.
mm.
The investment you can put that towards,
Yeah.
What? Come on,
like
bro.
Yeah. Yeah. You say the trade-off is the privacy, you know?
at the
And
end
that's
of the
not.
day, it might be worth it.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it for sure. It's worth it.
But you young enough to be able to try that. Y'all too young enough to be able to try that.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
gonna try it.
road. My wife
I'm
would
gonna,
look at me like,
yeah, I'm gonna try it.
she'd
Yeah,
be like,
Who?
the kids can stay here for free. I'm like, whoa, hey, whoa, hey.
She'll be
now
like,
that
"Did John tell you this?"
I don't know about that free part, bro. What I'm gonna tell my kids is if they get a job, they have to pay rent, right?
There you
And
go.
when the rent that they pay, I will keep on the side, and I will invest that until they're ready to move out. Then I'll give
There
them
you
that
go.
money back.
That's a
That's
great move.
fair. That's fair.
Real
Yeah.
But
fair.
I'm not gonna tell you that, bro. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
No, but it teaches accountability,
Yeah.
and then it gives them a launching pad when
Yeah.
they're ready to go.
Yeah.
Right. Here you go. This is the money that you earned. You know what I mean? That we earned on your behalf. This is your gift to get your new whatever it is that you want to do with.
Yep. Yeah, you on your way, man. You speaking to the dudes we speaking to and say, hey, follow this brother's example right here.
Hey, man, for sure.
Like we say all the
Hey,
time, learn our lessons, but don't learn them the way we learn. Learn the lessons his way.
hey, what's the quote? It's a wise man that is
Wise man
able
learn from the
to.
mistakes of others.
Yes, that is it right there. Yep. Well, John, I know this podcast took a little bit of a different turn, but I appreciate that different turn that it took. In fact, um, B, do you have any final questions for John as we wrap up here?
No, I know, man. You're a mentor to many, and if you would, the same question I asked all our guests, particularly the men, if you were speaking to dudes that were on the front end of a breakup and trying to navigate their way to be a good man and by extension a good father, what advice would you give them?
Front end of a breakup with a child involved.
Mm-hmm.
I would say do your best not to internalize that pain, and use it as a weapon against, the other party. Right. Like I see that a lot of times where, people will be upset that the situation is over. And then they'll use that pain as a weapon against the other person. And that's hard not to do, especially depending on the circumstances of that situation. Maybe you feel like you got the short end of the stick or you were done wrong. Maybe you feel like there was some abuse, whether it's financially or emotional, whatever the situation is, you feel like you were done wrong. You didn't deserve the outcome that you got. But at the end of the day, you have to figure out a way to deal with that's healthy because people are still watching you, right? You are even in times where you feel like you're in the dirt, you're in the mud, you're wallowing in sorrow. You're still setting an example, right? You're still setting an example, and somebody is still paying attention and taking notes on how you handle it. So it's nothing. It's not to say that you can't feel a way, right? But you have to figure out an outlet, a healthy outlet that you can get that off, right? Therapy is a good idea. Um, just something healthy, right? But I would suggest finding a community like these gentlemen here that you can talk to that can help you vent, to get that off your chest, right? That'll help you make decisions that are not temporary
Hmm.
because you have to live with this decision that you make forever. And you don't want to be stuck with a decision that you made in a moment when the consequences last forever.
There it is.
Well said.
Well, I'm going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum for my final question. And my final question is, what advice would you give a man that is getting into a relationship with a woman who has a child?
First, you have to ask yourself, are you really ready for what that is? Right? Like, are you really ready to be selfless? Um, are you ready to be a leader? Right? Are you ready to face some adversity because it's coming? Right? Like, there's going to be all of those things mixed in, right? Are you ready to sacrifice? Do you actually want to be a father figure? right? Like, because, if you're there long enough, that's what you're going to become, right? Like, you're going to become that. So are you prepared? Are you interested in that role? So I know uh, I've heard a lot of, women say, whether on social media or even in real life, they're like, oh, I'm not looking for a father for my son. He has one. But like what they're not understanding is that he's going to have two now, right?
Mm,
Like that's not something that you can't decide that, right? You cannot decide, especially if you are cohabitating with this person
Yes.
and you are the primary, person that's responsible for the care of that child, and this person is with you all the time. It's it's inevitable, right? That is going to happen. They're going to look at this person um one way or another. And I think for the man in that situation, you have to, decide upon yourself, like, am I really interested in what this could become?
mm,
Right? Like, not is it fun now? Not is it fun now, right? Because it could be very fun right now.
Yeah.
But are you prepared and interested in what this could ultimately mean for your life? That's what I would suggest somebody ask themselves.
a lot of wisdom in those words, man.
A lot.
A lot of wisdom. Hopefully, someone hears that and is like, "Oh, okay, I needed that right there."
I hope so.
Powerful job, very powerful.
Thank you, man.
All right, and I think that's a great place to wrap it up. So until next time, I'm John,
I'm Kelly.
and that was the positive and powerful Ja.
Peace.
Peace.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Yeah,
you, man.
thank you, man.